Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. We are here for our show with Rachel Starkweather, our co host, where we have different uh, people on that just do different things and we get to know them. We call this show Curious Crossroads. So, what we're looking for is the crossroads between astrology and what the person does who's our guest. Today, we have Kim Holman on. As you can see, she's an LMT, which is a licensed massage therapist, right, Kim?
Yes.
What is an IMTC?
So it's integrative manual therapy certified.
Okay, and what does that mean?
So integrative manual therapy, they have physical body work, like works on veins and arteries in the body, like everywhere. They had craniosacral classes, so I got certified in that on all these different levels of doing body work. But some of it was energetic. So, like if there was infection in the body, they called it immune motility, and so how to work with that and bring down the infection. So, like a toothache or something, and there was ways that we would energetically work with the pathogens in the area. So some of it was energy work and some of it was physical. And then a lot of what that is, I think pretty much everything I've learned over 31 years as a massage therapist has taught me how to talk to the body in some way, and how the integrative manual therapy taught me a lot of body assessments to like really get the information from the body. It's like, what do we do first, second, third, fourth kind of thing. So it was a lot of assessing also.
Hmm. Interesting. Rachel, I have to say that class last night, I teach a class on Monday nights in Portland at this place called the Blackthorn Mercantile. And last night we were doing Saturn through the physical body. So we learned all about like body stuff last night. So I think, Rachel, I think it's kind of fitting that we have this guest on today to talk about body stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's yeah,
Yeah. Um,
definitely.
So Kim, you were saying I'm really interested in now an LMT is a massage therapist, but you were saying that you do energetic body work. So let's hear about that.
Yeah, so 31 years as a body worker. I call body work now versus massage. I got right out of massage school and had a full practice and was able to like really keep my clients because oftentimes they come in and go away, and I just seem to like keep them, and they really liked the body work, but I was dissatisfied, the massages, but I was dissatisfied because they came in with back pain. I massaged them, but they left with back pain and sometimes more, and I was like, that's unacceptable. And so I started talking to my colleagues, and they're like, well, take some continuing ed classes. And so I would, well, this is a possibility in this institute and this class and that class. And then every once in a while I hear of one and it's like, that one, that's the one I need to go to. So I've been literally following my gut instinct for 31 years. And I absolutely refuse to waste my time taking a class that is like, oh, someone said this will be good. It's like someone mentions it and I go, yes. And every cell lights up, then I take that one. So
Hmm.
where it's taken me is I got into massage because I wanted to help people get out of pain. It's like I have such an aversion to pain. It's incredible. And so everything I do is very gentle. And if I need to do something like something really quick at the end of a session and like we release some nerves and now their body can relax, but the muscles have been stuck in that pattern. And it's like, I know if I just do a little bit of massage really quick, it's going to hurt, but it'll help their muscles relax. And then they're going to have a good time the next few days versus going, oh God, I'm so sore for 2, 3 days. And then I felt great. Right. So if I just quickly do a massage, but I'll say, okay, your muscles feel stuck. Are you okay with a little bit of pain? And they'll go, yeah. And then I'll quickly do it. And they're like, ah, because everything I do is so painless, except for sometimes finding tender points, which helps me assess where I'm going to go. But I have such an aversion to pain. I wanted people to be out of pain. So whether it be headaches or neck pain or spine or a joint pain or a twisted ankle. So that drive to help people get out of pain has had me in school for 31 years. I've never stopped learning. Um, I now do counter strain, and I can work on the veins and the veins, arteries, nerves, ligament, bone, you name it, whatever structure is in the body. But I didn't have brain information. So I was like, okay, who teaches brain? And so then I found Chickley Institute, and they already have 12 brain classes. So I've had 2 of them.
Mm.
So I'm going back for my next master's degree that I'll never have letters behind my name.
Wow. I'm like, I wonder what in your astrological chart makes you such a student. What is do you know your sun, moon, and rising perhaps?
Virgo, Sag rising, and Taurus moon.
Virgo, Sag. Okay, that makes sense. Like Virgo is very medical. I know a lot of massage therapists who are Virgos. Like our astrokinesiologist we work with is a Virgo rising, and so lots of Virgos in body work. And
Yeah.
then the Sag part would be maybe the more philosophical and kind of like learning part of you.
Yeah.
So
So that's the details of what I've learned in the body. And so then I'm going to say probably 6 years ago, I talked to another therapist, and they said, oh, yeah, I worked on my mom's knee long distance, or I worked on my mom's knee. And I go, oh, your mom lives near you? And he's like, no, she lives back east. And I was like, wait, you're doing this hands-on type of thing, like energetically? And I knew that it was possible. And some friends were like, Kim, you can do this long distance. And I go, oh, I just don't know if I can do that. And so then I picked his brain, and then I went and I practiced it with family members. And, one of my kids would say, oh man, I fell. And can you work on me long distance? And, they trusted me to do that. And then I went back and I go, when I'm trying it and practicing with clients, I said to this other therapist, I said, I lose my focus, especially if they're not on the phone. And he's like, light a candle and look at the flame and keep your focus on there. And I was like, all right. So I started doing that and practice. And sure enough, the feedback I was getting, it was like, oh my gosh, my shoulder is not hurting anymore. My headache is gone. And so they started. And so then I was like, okay, there's something to this online long distance thing. I do prefer having people on Zoom, or at least on the phone while I'm working, because then I can get feedback. And then sometimes I'll go, okay, could you flex your head and look down, and then have them hold that, because then it opens up a whole different level of energy. And so then I've been practicing this for a while. So I'm getting ready to start my online practice.
So what are you actually doing when you're doing the long distance?
Yeah, let me grab a poster really quick.
Okay.
I'm curious
What?
where her sound.
There's something wrong with your sound, Rachel.
Okay.
Can you do it without headphones? Okay.
So this poster shows the emotional body, physical body, emotional, mental, and spiritual body. So this is very rudimentary. People who really know the layers, maybe went to Barbara Brennan school kind of thing.
I love Barbara Brennan. Hands of Light is one of my favorite books that ever lived.
She detailed the energetic body. So this is extremely rudimentary compared to that. But I call this the 4 bodies, and I'm just going to go with 4. I know there's more. So this is our spirit, right? All over. And our physical body is within the spirit. So that's my concept. And it's part of what I learned in integrative manual therapy school. I studied that for 16 years, and I did a whole bunch of advanced classes before I went back and did the basics and got certified. But it was so fascinating to me that she broke out. It's like, oh, well, yeah, this shoulder thing has a mental component to it. And I'm like, okay. So she'd go, hold the left side of your forehead. And I'm like, what? And we'd hold the left side of her forehead, and sure enough, it would let go. And it's like, what are you doing? So in integrative manual therapy school, this is where I kind of got the concept of that. I'm going to grab one more thing. And I created a empath class, and it ended up being 28 weeks, I think. And I get so many empaths, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'd really like to go to this birthday party, but I can't because I just pick up so much of other people's energy. And so then I was like, oh my gosh, there's literally hordes of people over 31 years that are empaths, and they just don't know how to manage. And so I created this based on those bodies, and I made this little card, and on the back there's other things that you can do to like support yourself. But you see across the forehead, there's the mental body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body. And so it's literally left side mental, right side emotional. The center is the spiritual body. So they should be off the forehead about a half inch. And if they're not, what we were taught in integrative manual therapy school was like follow where it's going. So I was in a little twit one time, and I was getting some body work from another integrative manual therapist. And she's like, man, your mental body is in your liver. Like it was just completely energetically pulled down. And she worked at that. And then she's like, what's been going on? And I started talking about it. And pretty soon, once I got to the root cause of what my mental stress was, it just went poop and it let go. And then it's up here nice and fluffy.
Interesting. Well, so one curious crossroad here is that astrologers, at least the ones that I work with, we believe that not only believe, but there's evidence that shows that the people grow on a helix of light, and that the physical form is a step down from the helix that we're growing on. So the chart, the astrological chart, like, is probably in the etheric layer of the aura. It's like the template is like burned into that etheric layer, and then the helix steps down into our physical body. And there are books, I don't have one in front of me, called like the astrological body types and things, would look like how we look according to our chart. And so we absolutely, handle a lot of pain and suffering in the physical body through the etheric body, through the helix of light, by saying, if we can interrupt some of this weird energy coming in through the helix celestially, then we can interrupt some of the pain in the physical body. So I just want to say that we do, as astrologers, understand that spiritual body concept, and that and just like Barbara Brennan says in Hands of Light, all illness in the physical body starts in this auric body. And of course, if you hit the body, let's say I break my arm, that's going to affect my auric body out here, but that comes in from structural outwards. But you can also have a transit and a celestial influence come in, and it affects the aura here, which then goes down into the elbow or things like that. So we absolutely understand that concept that you're talking about.
Yes. Many times as a therapist, I would do, this is the example I give. Let's say here's the picture of your body, and you're sitting in a car and you get T-boned and you get hit really hard here, and this shoulder starts hurting. And so one of the things that I have learned to do is check in with their body. And it's like, what do you want me to do first? Because their body knows the key and they know the sequence. And so then I'll hear, oh, work with the energetic body. So I go in here for this energetic shoulder, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like not out here. Oh, it's way over here. And then I hold that and I witness for that. And usually the person starts talking about, oh, I remember that accident 20 years ago when I got T-boned. And then they start talking about, they get to the crux of that. And then all of a sudden it goes, and it slingshots back out, and now it's nice. And so that's how I, as an LMT, are different than most LMTs. And I know I can impact the body long distance because I can work with those energetic bodies so easy.
Interesting. So one of the things that the way we see this in astrology is, like, we talked last night at class about the Saturn spot. Like, everyone has Saturn in their spine somewhere, and Saturn is kind of the root of the psyche. It's the tightest vertebrae in a person. So let's say you get T-boned in a car accident where you have your Saturn spot, you will absorb that tension and hold it in there for years and years. And then all of a sudden the massage therapist goes in and starts working on your Saturn spot, and all these memories come out. And so we definitely see that part of the reason that there's this template of pain in the human body is because of our Saturn placement. And it's like in the fascia, which we'll get to, it's like where the fascia is pinched like a plastic bag is our Saturn spot. And so all the energy goes into that Saturn spot. So we do understand a lot of what you're talking about too. And I want to know, can you feel auras?
Yes. So So if, for example, like if I have this little chalkboard in my mind's eye, and I put the person's silhouette up there, and I ask, what do you want first? And if I see something above their head, and they're, let's say they're on the table, um, if they're distance, I just pretend they're right there in front of me, and this is their head, there's their feet. And then I look, and if it shows above, then I will hold that. But I'll go to the top of their head, and I'll hold, and I'll come in until I bump into that thing that I saw in my mind's eye. And then I hold. And really, the technique that I have found the most effective is to just witness what we didn't get witness for as a child, for example, needs to be witnessed. Whether, and so my whole other business that Meg and I do together is the reparenting. It's like, can you witness for yourself when your parent or another adult or somebody couldn't when you were little, right? That's the reparenting. And so I hold that for the body. If I get an intuition that it's like they need to talk about something, then I'll go, what do I say to open up the conversation? Or sometimes I will get one client many years ago. The first time I got this, I saw her a quick synopsis of her being traumatized. And I was like, whoa. And I heard, you need to have her talk about this. And I'm like, I'm not opening up that conversation. I just met this person and she's naked on my table. I'm not opening up the conversation. And it's like, you want to talk about, and I kept hearing, it's like, she needs to talk this out. And I said, then she needs to open up the conversation. I'm not kidding you. 2 minutes later, she opened it up. And I was like, okay, right?
Psychic A+, Kim.
It's just witnessing and being with that.
Interesting. Well, I'm thinking of just holding, and Rachel, feel free to talk anytime. I'm not trying to dominate the conversation, although I am.
No, I just want to say being witnessed is very powerful. Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's exactly what I was going to make the point was that I think in some ways what is healing about these energetic sessions is that the holding space for a person for an hour, just even that is healing. When we go to a doctor, do they really hold space for us for an hour? Like no offense to doctors, but it's just, you get a medical assistant, they're doing, and they have this like template, and it's like, it's very different than somebody just thinking and focusing on you and thinking about your well-being. And I think even that is almost like the laying on of hands in a way, but it's spiritually, I'm like laying my sight on you kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
Which, Rachel, is that what you would kind of refer to as witnessing?
I think more just holding space for what's coming up and allowing it to be seen in a way where comfort, well, not comfort, but care is being given.
Yeah. The childhood trauma that I experienced from birth to 13 years old was very, very intense. And now I know why I don't like pain. 24 years of counseling. And, I started doing my inner work 31 years ago when I became a massage therapist. It completely opened up a completely different world to me. And so I've been going down that track of reparenting myself and working with my inner children that were wounded and didn't have space, didn't have protection. And then when you find out, 31 years later, just this year, I was like, I have an issue with women. Why do I have an issue with women? And it's like, I can't look women in the eyes, but I can look men in the eyes. But women, I would just avert my eyes. And I was noticing that actually when I met you, Andrea, at the MeWe.
Oh.
And I was it was actually, nope, I met you after that. And so right before the earlier one that we went to and that I went to in Portland, I was noticing this, and then all the women would come up to my table at the MeWe fair, and I'd be like, avert, look at this, show them this. So I'm not looking in their eyes. And I was like, what is this? I'm recognizing something. So then I went to my family members, all the women avert, all the men, no problem. And I was like, whoa, what about strangers? So I go to the grocery store or the gas station, men, no problem. Women, avert.
You're doing great with your eye contact here today. Where although it's easier on Zoom because you're not like eye contact is like so annoying for me. I've like asked AI about it and stuff, and it's like you can comfortably look at someone for 2 to 3 seconds. After that, it becomes creepy. Like, and I like just studied it because I worked on Zoom for so long, and then I'm at the MeWe fairs, and then I feel everyone's aura, and I'm just like, this is so awkward, you know. But
Yeah.
I'm curious if you know body talk. Are you a
Yeah.
body talk practitioner?
I've heard of body talk. I've been told that I do similar things to that. And I just did a class in heart-centered therapy, and they have 4 different classes. And I'm going to do the second one in March in Colorado. And the heart-centered therapy, it's like someone teaches it. And then I told it said heart-centered therapy to someone, and they go, oh, I know someone in Portland that does that. And so I went down that rabbit hole and find out, did they learn from the same person I'm learning? And no, it's somebody else calling something heart-centered therapy. So it's all like intermixed. It's like Meg and I teach in the reparenting. Someone said, oh, that's internal family systems. And I'm like, we were talking about this language before we heard of internal family systems. So it's in the ethers, you know? So I talk to bodies all the time.
Yeah. And I think the astrology crossroads there we could say is that, you know, Neptune's been going through Pisces for the last, like, how long, Rachel? Do you know?
I mean, it's like a 14-year transit. Yeah.
Okay. So it's been like 14 years. And I think that has brought a very, very spiritual bent to like everything that's going on. Like that's just one of the zeitgeists of our current moment. And so I think, you know, looking at things medically through spiritual lens right now is kind of what's up. That's going to be transitioning into Aries soon, but you know, I do think it has been kind of what's up. So I'm curious to move into a question for you is like, how do the chakras play into what you do?
Yeah, so the chakras, I feel like I have limited knowledge of the chakras. We got the 7 in our body, 7 above, 7 below. Like the root chakra, like there's apparently 7 that go down to the feet. And then the feet chakras, the hands have chakras. Apparently, each of the spinal segments have chakras, but I haven't studied any of that, right? So the basic chakras, and basically when I put someone's silhouette up on my little blackboard, and I ask them questions, sometimes I see a chakra. And again, I just go to where I see and I hold space for it. And I wait and I listen. And if I get instruction, then I follow through on the instruction. So that's how I deal with chakras. I have gone down with the pendulum and seeing which way it goes, you know. So when I learn something, I do it exactly how I'm taught. I get it in my hands, and then it morphs and comes in as a tool in my toolbox, and it will come back into my memory bank if I need it with someone.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I'm surprised actually that you don't use chakras more. You know, just being that you're an energetic healer. Although it sounds like, wait, let me clarify. So most of what you did was hands-on until several years ago when you started the energetic stuff.
Yes.
Okay, that's fitting. Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you happen to know what degree your Virgo sun is at?
I have no idea.
When's your birthday?
September 15th.
Okay, so your Virgo sun's probably around 23. That makes
23?
sense because yeah. What'd you say, Rachel?
I said 23 exactly.
Yeah, we got 23 Virgo sun. So the Neptune. This is for the astrology crowd who's watching. So the Neptune and Pisces opposed her sun in Virgo during those years, and she started taking to that spiritual side of things. That makes a lot of sense for what was going on astrologically for you. And that makes sense that you would take all that like psychic information and marry it to that Virgo sun, which is like the healing of people and things like that. So
Yeah.
all right, well, that's observable evidence for astrology at work. Okay. Okay, so then do you know, okay, dermatomes, we do a lot of dermatome astrology, so I wanted to talk to you about dermatomes. What do you know about the dermatomes? Do we want to define them for the people watching, and do you use them in your massage therapy?
Yeah, so dermatomes, I've heard of them in massage school, in several classes that I've taken, they'll reference them. I have not done any direct work. The thing that I've experimented with, I'm an experimenter 100%, And sometimes doing reflexology, I would be bored just doing massage in the beginning of my practice, and I'd take a reflexology class, and my clients completely passed out by the time I've done their back and the back of their legs, just massaging. And I get to their feet and it's like, I am bored out of my mind doing regular massage, right? So I'm like, oh, they said something about their stomach. So let me find that stomach point there. And then I would like work on their stomach through their foot long distance, right? And I know I can apply that to dermatomes, but I haven't had a lot with that. I used to have a dermatome chart in my office when I was kind of playing with it, and it just didn't pique my interest enough. But I know that I can impact that. If in my mind's eye I get an image of the dermatome chart, I will look it up and go, oh, this relates here. This makes sense now. So that's the extent that I've used it.
Okay. Rachel, do you have any commentary on dermatomes, having learned them last night?
Not at this moment.
Do you have your dermatome drawing?
No, it's at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I'll make some commentary on what we think is happening with the dermatomes in astrology, just because we're looking for crossroads here. And it's like, really, a lot of the medical astrology I do now, I'm not a doctor, but I am just an astrologer, helping with the cases that maybe doctors can't figure out. But the we really look at the chart as living in the dermatome pathways. Like, for example, Virgo, your Virgo sun, Virgo lives in these middle dermatomes that cover and infiltrate the intestines. And so, like, a lot of people say that Virgos are intestinally sensitive people. And we would say that it's the fascia running through that dermatome of that Virgo dermatome that creates that sensitivity.
Yeah.
Like your Sag moon would be running through the dermatome that goes down the thigh of the leg. And now for people, if people want to see here, I'll show an image of some dermatomes just so people can see. I talk about dermatomes all the time. My crowd is probably like, Andy, shut up about those dermatomes. Never will I. Okay, these are what dermatomes look like. And so, like Virgo would live in these dermatomes, and then like Kim Sag moon would be running down this leg right here. But it also gets the horse's tail, which is this big nervous bundle of nerves, and it creates a lot of fire in the leg. So like Kim's like a high frequency Virgo, just like I need to learn this, I need to learn that because of this, like also this Sag energy in her dermatome. So we are really actually looking at what we call the soul census machine of like how is the person built to sense the world through their dermatomes, and so like that Saturn spot will pinch one of the dermatomes through the vertebrae or the fascia all the way down through the dermatome, creating a part of the body that's kind of tense and tight. So but you're proof positive that most massage therapists know what dermatomes are, and we're not making them up. They are, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Now I wish I was at your class last night. When are you going to do it again?
That one, I don't know, probably next year sometime.
Okay, I want to know.
Okay, interesting.
That's one of the things that I'm super interested right now is like some people process everything through their body, some people verbally, some people, through the emotions. And, there's some people, it's like, if I don't put my hands on them, nothing's changing. And other people, I can just say a word and they completely shift.
Well, and that's so hi Carly, good to see you. And that we would say astrologically has to do with how they're built. Like for example, a super earthy chart, like triple earth, you have to massage them. They're not a sensitive soul, like, but some super air charts, if you talk to them, all their fascia and chakras change because they're conceptual. Some people are more vibe based or plasma in the aura, so like if you vibe them, they will be changed. So I think that Carly, if you have any questions for Kim, feel free to chime in. She is here with us for 30 more minutes, so but anyway, I think that we understand that there's like it's constitutional medicine in some ways, the astrology. So let's actually talk about that. Like as massage therapists, how do you deal with different constitutions?
They do not teach that in massage school at all. It's all things that we've had to learn, outside of that. They mentioned Ayurvedic body types, but so that can be, somewhat in the Constitution thing. And that's why I'm like querying right now. It's like if I talk to someone and that wants online work and they're earthy, I met a guy for the first time the other day. His wife's airy, he's completely earthy. And I was like, you need body work, like hands on. And she's like, totally can process something mentally, emotionally. And she's like, yep. And I said, we have to have hands on your body. So I wouldn't be able to help him if it was a distance session. So that's why I'm like, not everybody is going to be able to be a distance session.
That's so interesting. So let's talk a little bit about those different bodies, the mental, spiritual, and there was the emotional body. Are they different? Like, so
Yeah.
tell us the difference in the bodies in your perspective and like, what are they? Or
So any of them can get stuck into organs. So Louise Hay, I've like always reference her book, You Can Heal Your Life.
love Louise
Big
Hay.
influence.
Classic.
Yeah. And so like if someone comes in with lung stuff, like I had a client today and it's like, do you have grief? And they're like, yeah. And I said, well, what do you do with your grief? And it's like, nothing. Right. So it's all stuck in the lung and they keep getting lung stuff. So then I'm like, just asking questions if it feels appropriate. Right. I'm always checking in because some people are, I'm like, how can I say this that they can hear it? And so it's going to be different ways for different people. And so it's like, it would be amazing if you could just verbalize your grief. And this is a safety thing for a lot of people. They don't want to feel the emotion, right? They got shut down when they were a child, when they're too big, too loud, too whatever, and get shut down. So now someone's going, no, you can talk about it. And it's like, no, I can't, right? And so it's like the emotion, this is my safety thing. The lifespan of an emotion is 90 seconds. Can you acknowledge your grief for 90 seconds and just name it? I'm feeling grief. I don't know why I'm feeling grief. Oh, yes, I know why I'm feeling grief. Talk it out loud or journal, whichever it feels like. And just for 90 seconds, allow yourself to name the grief. And what you're doing is witnessing for yourself, right?
Yep.
That's what you're doing. And can you witness for 90 seconds? It only lasts 90 seconds unless you put a story with it. So then they go, I can handle 90 seconds. And then the second fear is like, oh, I don't want to do any reparenting. Are you kidding? I survived my childhood. I don't want to look at any of that, right? And they think it's going to be like, oh, and awful and everything. And it's like, no, you, the adult, are holding space for the younger version of you. So we want your older adult here, right? So sometimes, depending on the client, I can go into reparenting stuff. But I try to make it as safe as possible because years ago, my counselor would be, well, maybe it's time to do some shadow work. And I was like, ha, no, joking, no, right? And I had this big bad idea of what shadow work is. And then a couple of years later, a girlfriend says, Kim, it's just you're shining a flashlight. You're just going back to that time and shining a flashlight for that little one that is stuck, basically. And you're just shining a light and saying, hey, I see you. And I was like, oh, well, then that took the fear out of it. And then I could, quote unquote, do the shadow work. It's basically witnessing for yourself. But adults have to have enough of them before they can do that. And
well,
so
you're like an all-around healer. You're like, if somebody has a problem, you're like, bring it over here, I will heal it. Like, you're like an auto mechanic of emotions and physical bodies.
yeah, I would almost think I'm Virgo, because it's like I love the details of things. And it's like when I started doing massage therapy, literally I got into it because I had a natural knack. So I'm going to be sitting there at lunchroom, at work. And it's a friend and I go right to where their pain was and it would dissipate immediately. And they kept saying, you need to go to massage school. So I did. So here I am working at Blue Cross. No, I'm sorry, massage is not covered under your benefits.
Yeah.
And right, well, I'm going to school at night to learn to be a massage therapist. And then I was like, I wanted to help people get out of pain. I had such a big aversion to pain. And it was because there was so much physical pain that I blocked out in my childhood that I was like, I cannot tolerate pain. right? And anybody, like as an adult, someone came up and spanked my butt. Oh my God, did that bring back like triggers and stuff? And I'm like, I completely overreacted. I had no self-control in that moment as a 20-year-old.
I really want to have you on the show with Casey Cardoso, our other Virgo body healer. Like that would be a really interesting show to have both of you on here to talk about, your methodologies and stuff, because yeah, I mean, I think Virgos in some ways are fixers, and it's like whatever it is, it will be fixed by the Virgo. So, can we talk about fascia a little bit? Because, like, at least I am extremely interested in fascia because it is the organ that they are finding holds consciousness. And, in cadavers, they always cut the fascia off. Like when they're trying to look at anatomy and physiology, they're like, "What is this clear stuff that's surrounding all the organs?" And so they just like cut it off like it's nothing, but like your consciousness like runs through your fascia, like the chart we believe burns into your fascia. So I'm really curious to hear you talk about fascia. What is it? How do you use it? Like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so let's see. Let me just ask, because I could go in 18 different directions. Okay, I'm going to break it down super simple. This is like 31 years of putting together fascia and my understanding. Every cell in your body has fascia. Every cell.
Wow.
So when we work with a muscle, we're working with fascia. When we work with a vein, we're working with fascia. Artery, fascia. Bone, fascia with minerals. That makes it hard. So when I learned in integrative manual therapy how to work on bone, I was fascinated with it. And I love working on broken bones. Oh my God. It is just like the funnest thing. I broke so many bones in my body. Well, after I learned how to do that, cuboid bone in this foot. And a year later, cuboid bone in this foot. And it was like broke into 3 pieces. And it was like a puzzle piece. And a therapist that was working with me had to rotate the cuboid because it had flipped, and had to rotate it back to where it would articulate proper. And then I had to be on crutches. And I go, how long do I have to be on crutches? And she's like, well, we got the bone back together, put it back together like a puzzle piece, and then did our magic with the fascia. And then she taped it all the time, right? And like every 4 days would do the kinesio tape to keep the drainage going. And she goes, you'll know. And then one night I got up in the middle of the night and I was at the bathroom toilet before I realized I didn't get my crutches. And I just got up and walked. And I was like, oh, that's what she meant. My body will know when the bone's healed, right? So the fascia is in every cell. And there was a study that came out, I might butcher the timeline, but 5-6 years ago, that the Medical Association understood that the fascia is its own system. And what constitutes a system is arterial flow in, venous flow out, and nervous system impulses that tell the organ what to do. And so when they finally somehow proved that, and I couldn't tell you the study, so don't ask me. I'm not a scientific person and I hate research. I like teachers standing here talking to me. So research is not my thing. But when they realized that that was the system, they realized that, and this is what makes sense, and this is the example I give. You hit your hand and really bad bruise, right? If it's a really fast bruise and you're like, wow, that bruised a lot more than I think it should, you hit an artery. It's spurting. It has the pressure of the blood. If it's just a bruise and it kind of, comes out a couple days later, then that was a vein. That's how to tell if you got a vein or an artery. And so if you get this bruise, hold on, I lost my train. Okay. So if you hit the artery, let's say, the brain says, this is me learning about the brain work now. The brain says, hey, you're bleeding internally. The fascia, go in there and compress it and stop the bleed on that vein. So that's the brain telling the fascia what to do.
Wow.
That's how I see it happening. And so then when I get there, a week, 2 weeks later, a month later, 5 years later, whatever, that fascia may still be stuck.
Holding that pattern.
Yeah, holding that pattern.
They're called impingements or adhesions in the fascia, right?
Yes, yes. And so a really good example of that would be, think of a uterus. A woman's pregnant and her uterus is the size of her fist, gets pregnant, gets big, 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 right? The whole uterus is like huge. And then she has the baby and it shrinks back down, and the folds of the uterus fold on top of each other as it shrinks back down. And so when I work with pregnant women, before they have the baby, ideally make sure the uterus is good and the bladder's now stuck to the pubic bone and all this. Then they get pregnant and it expands out. Hopefully I'm working with them during, because if they have back pain, I can help them get all that back pain gone. And then right after, if they come in as soon as they're able, then I can work with the uterus as it's shrinking back down so the folds aren't there and it just shrinks back down into its normal. That way, when they get pregnant again, so I just worked on a pregnant woman this morning and she's 6 months and there was a fold from the last one. And it's the fascial fold. And I just felt that like wrinkle, and I just went in to make it easier where it wanted to go. We call it going to ease. And then it just unwound and it took tension off of her back.
Wow.
She had tailbone pain. She didn't even tell me about the tailbone pain when she came in this morning. And then after she was sitting and she's like, oh, my tailbone pain's gone. And I was like, oh, didn't know that you had that.
Wow.
So those are just some examples of fascia that it's just fascinating to me. So we're really walking organized bags of fascia.
Absolutely. So like I'm looking in the book. Rachel, do you know anything about fascia, or Carly?
Just it's like that elastic thing that's holding us up. I mean, it supports our skeleton in terms of like us staying upright, right?
Yeah, I can give you a couple of examples.
Yeah.
So,
But
go ahead.
No, it holds memory, holds things.
Yeah, like it holds a consciousness. So I'm looking in Astro Somatica, which is this book about physical astrology, and we have a chapter on fascia.
Oh.
So Carly's saying if you don't stretch, then it becomes stuck and you can't move. That would make sense. Why maybe older people, does their fascia get more concretized, or their
Yes.
Motion is the lotion.
Well, as astrologers would say, as through the Saturn cycles, every like Barbara Ann Brennan notices that at the first Saturn square at the age of 7, the chakras harden and the fascia concretizes around the chakras system. And so every time we have a Saturn transit, our fascia gets a little bit more concretized, and that's why old people are more stiff than But that's the Saturn cycle of becoming wise and kind of frozen. Sorry. Okay, go ahead, Kim.
So what does this look like? Chicken, right?
Okay.
Okay. So it's the clear gooey stuff under the skin and the meat.
Wow.
So that's literally a piece of chicken. Okay. So that's fascia. The clear gooey stuff is the fascia. Okay. So then let me give you another example. We've all seen these. All that white is fascia.
Yeah.
Right. And so the dura around the brain is specialized fascia. It's thicker. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So literally everything in our body is made from fascia of different kinds. Cartilage, specialized fascia. Okay.
Wow.
And then, so this is what I explain to my clients. That's the plantar fascia on the bottom of the foot. So when you wake up in the morning and you take those first couple steps, I was learning about this in class one time, and she goes, does anybody have pain in their feet when they get up in the morning? And I'm like, nope. And then the next morning after class, I got up and I was like, oh, I do. I just never noticed. So the plantar fascia is the fascia in the foot, but there's a pole that goes up the leg. Almost all plantar fascia I have found, the root cause is in the pelvis.
Really? Where in the pelvis?
It could be anywhere for anybody.
Yeah. Okay.
And so this is a muscle, and you can see the different layers in this. So this is one muscle. So a strand of muscle is encoded in fascia.
Yeah.
And then the whole group, like the bicep group, is completely encoded, right? And it gives the shape.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So then this is hydrated fascia.
That is so fascia right there. Like all the
That's
pictures.
hydrated.
Wow.
Okay. That's hydrated fascia. And this is
Dehydrated.
dehydrated, which looks like beef jerky.
Oh,
Wow.
interesting. So how do you hydrate your fascia?
Drink water.
Oh, interesting.
Literally drink water. So when I meet someone, let's say they had a forearm injury and it was really tight, and then maybe they had surgery and they got screws in there or whatever. The fascia compressed, the brain told all that fascia to hold tight. And now it's 5 years later. The fascia just needs to be unwound. And I just hold it, ask it where it wants. So I'm going to over exaggerate the movement. And so if I squeeze just gently, and it pulls this way, I'm just going to torque it that way, whichever way it wants to go, and then hold it. And that's the key. Is a lot of my clients, they'll go, well, I did this and then it feels better, and it's like, okay, do that again and hold it for 90 seconds. And then I said, now do it, and they're like, oh my god, it let go. So working with fascia is super easy. It's very fun.
Interesting. Well, okay, so the way fascia, it. Do you believe it as the organ of consciousness? Okay, because what we use it for in astrology all the time is like that. Basically, okay, let's say you have Saturn in Gemini or something like that. Your dermatomes are pinched in the Gemini region, and the fascia of your arm, like so Saturn, like people with Saturn and Gemini get a lot of like carpal tunnel, and they get like very tense things down the Gemini region. Well, the fascia of their Gemini dermatomes is tight, and
Mhm.
but their consciousness is tight in that region for a spiritual reason. Like if your consciousness is tight in certain fascia systems, your thinking is tight in that system. Like so Gemini Saturn people are very like editive, and they think about what they're saying. Their throat chakra spins slower. They're kind of, there's like all these cluster of things that happen with like a Saturn and Gemini. But if you
Yeah.
have Saturn in Cancer, the fascia of your chest wall is tight, and that's where you hold tension. And so we really are, fascia is very important to us because it holds the consciousness of the chart. Where we have Mars in our chart, we get inflammation running through that fascia, so we build muscle in that system and things like that. So I think, I'm curious how you feel about the idea that fascia holds consciousness.
I think it does. So I consulted my friend who is a acupuncturist because I have always known and heard that acupuncture meridians is the fascia, the energy, the chi runs through that. I'm going to sneeze.
Was that you asking last night, Rachel, how the meridians lay with the dermatome?
Yeah,
Oh my
I'm
God,
very
here you're gonna
curious.
get your answer now. Okay.
So he said, I said, here's my question to him. I said, is it true that the chi runs along fascia? He said, some Chinese medicine scholar believe that it is said that the channel which and where chi runs or ki lies in the valley. And then he sent me another clarifying thing. He said, of course, and just to clarify, the valley can be interpreted as between the fascia or muscle or organ. And yes, it is in between organs or the fascia, which he and I know. So if that's the fascia is between everything, and there's a valley between the organs, right? Then yes, the channel is going to be in there, and the chi is, or ki is going. You can tell I'm not an acupuncturist and I am not an astrologer. Those two things, like, they're like a completely foreign language to me. So that's why I was so fascinated with you at the MeWe fair, and then to be on here and like hear how it all intersects.
Well, I hope we're not being too astro for you. It's just that our
No.
audience really likes to basically learn from people like you, and you're the Virgoic side of things. Like we're the very much the consciousness side of things. But like I think just we love like your energy work. I mean, do you think that your energy work influences the fascia essentially?
Yeah, so there's one more thing that's pinging in again. And so if we get an injury from, like, let's say a car accident, and that shoulder got injured and the energetic shoulder's way over here, and then they got symptoms of not being able to communicate or whatever the shoulders are, right? Did the injury come first, or did they just wake up with that neck ache and there was the energetic first? So how do I address the energy? Because you said, what do you do with the energetic bodies? So again, I put them up on my imaginary blackboard and I go, okay, the person has said this injury, this symptom, that symptom. Where's the common denominator that can unravel all of it? I'm always looking for the root cause. And that's why I'm going into brain study. It's going to literally be another $20,000, $30,000 study. And God knows how many years it's going to take me to do that. But I want to know what's controlling everything. And the 2 brain classes that I've had so far, it's like when I am like, oh, we did that for the shoulder last time and it came back. Why did it come back? So I go back and I hold the shoulder, and then I'm holding the brain and going, where is it pinging in the brain? And it's like, oh, you're in the sensory cortex for that shoulder. And then I work with the homunculus in the brain. And then all of a sudden I'm feeling like all this movement between my hands, and then it all of a sudden just completely dissipates. And sometimes the client will go, oh, I remember when I fell out of the tree when I was 10 years old and I injured my shoulder, and right, and all of a sudden the memory comes out. But which comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's a crapshoot. And if I had 10 people with migraines, then all of their root cause is going to be different.
Yeah.
And that's what I have to realize, is like everybody's unique. So that's where my blackboard thing, I love it.
Yeah. And I think that's where we are similar, is like we are all, as astrologers, trying to find the root cause, like in the chart, right? In the spine and things like that. And I think, and I love what you're doing there. I love energetic body healers. Like, I think they're so in line with kind of just our crowd and what we all do, because I think we're working on the etheric layers, the energy layers of humans. In some ways astrology could be looking at, like, we're like philosophical energy workers, where we like give you like verbiage that changes your consciousness, which changes your fascia, and like, so I think it's all kind of working on the same system. All right, well, okay, I'm out of questions. We have 5 minutes. I'm gonna see if Rachel has anything, and then also we're gonna see where people can find you, so, or if Kim has any last thing. So Rachel, do you have anything on your mind after all that?
Yeah, I watched a couple of your videos on your website, which I thought was wonderful. Actually, your YouTube video. And in one of the things you were talking about, you're welcoming people to sessions and you were telling what was going to happen. And one of the things you mentioned is you might walk them backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was fascinating because I've done a lot of walking backwards for like building up the tibialis and restructuring your gait, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was just curious, you were using it somewhat similar but different. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So if I am working with someone physically, and I know that we completely shifted the nervous system radically, if
Yeah.
what I found for years is they come back a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, and I go, how'd you do with the last session? And they're like, usually people are like shoulder pain, back pain, some pain that they're trying to get out. And then once we get it, I go, just do a once a month maintenance, because being in the body, you need that.
Yeah.
And so what they would come back tell me for years was, oh, by the time I got to my car, I felt this pain and that pain. But after 2 or 3 days, I felt better. So then somewhere along in my studies, someone had showed me the walk backwards thing. When you shift the nervous system a lot, walk backwards, and it takes about 30 steps. And so any therapist that's working with the nervous system can do this as well. But walk the person backwards 30 steps approximately, you'll feel a click in their nervous system. And
Yeah.
I can see it. My natural gift is seeing with the third eye. And so that's how I see the energy. And then I was taught to feel, because I couldn't feel when they go, feel that. Do you feel that? And I go, no, I don't feel it, but I see it. And right. So now I was taught to feel, and I can do both. But when you walk them backwards and that click, have them
Yeah.
stop, take a big deep breath, exhale all the way. And then when they move forward, and one person couldn't walk forward for literally 5 minutes, it changed her brain so much. She stood there in the hallway for 5 minutes. She could not take a step forward. And she had to like almost will herself to move forward. So we went through several breath cycles.
Yeah.
She moved forward and she goes, oh my God, I have a completely different gait, 100% different.
Yeah.
So when I do that to help reset the nervous system into the new pattern, then they can go forward. They don't have the treatment reaction. They're not sore, and having all that stuff. I had body work yesterday and someone's learning some new stuff, and they did every rib and every vertebra in the thoracic spine. And I felt like a Mack truck hit me today. And now in retrospect, I should have walked myself backwards. And
I'm
I
just going to walk backwards. Whoa. Okay. Sorry, Rachel.
No, I just think walking backwards is this fascinating tool that like.
Yeah. And I've heard something about walking backwards up a hill is like more therapeutic.
Interesting. Good question, Rachel. All right, I don't mean to cut us off, but Kim, we want to know where to find you because there's a lot of people here who probably want body work from you. So where can we find you? Or etheric body work?
Yeah, so kimholman.com. Let me get this because I just texted this to someone. Heal.me, HEAL.me/8hands healing. 8 Hands Healing is my business name. And that's where you can schedule sessions, and they can be distance sessions or in person in Salem, Oregon. My website's kimholman.com or 8handshealing.com. Go to the same website. And I'm getting ready to go through this big shift, and I don't know what's all going to happen with that, but I want to start an online coaching business, or not coaching, but online distance work. I can do coaching as well. I don't know if you can see that pretty balance wheel in the background. People who are like, man, I just feel so stuck in my life. I just don't even know how to get out of it. Sometimes they need body work, that old pain that's keeping them stuck. Sometimes they need the reparenting. Sometimes they just need goals. But when we set goals and we go forward, what do? I can't make that phone call. I can't look that woman in the eyes, right? There's the resistance that comes up. And I wrote an ebook recently this year called
Balance Without Burnout.
Yes, Balance Without Burnout. And it uses the thing. Thanks. I was not thinking of, my brain wasn't there. I use the balance wheel in there to help you assess where you're at right now. But in there, once you go through the steps, the last step is to go, okay, what is 5 action steps I can do for my physical health, because that's coming up that you want to change, right? We always choose what we want to work on. And then it's like, oh God, I hate going to the gym, but there's a resistance to going to the gym. So I list a whole bunch of things in the ebook of how to deep dive into that, if you choose, of where the resistance is coming from. And then that's how I coach them, is help them clear the resistance so that they can actually take the action step. So whatever goal we have, it could be speaking on stage worldwide. Are you healthy enough to do that? If you do not have your physical health and living with health and vitality, you're not going to be able to do that very well.
Okay, so will you send me the links in an email, everything you want included in the verbiage below, and then you guys can contact Kim. If you like these live streams, I guess subscribe, because then you'll be notified about other live streams. We have live streams pretty much every day. So thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Kim. I have much gratitude for you both, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Definitely check out her website and her YouTube, because there's phenomenal information on both.
Great.
All right. Bye.